I never thought the people who brought me into this world would be the ones waiting for me to leave it. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how my own parents told me they would only come see me if I died, and how a complete stranger showed me more love than they ever did. I grew up in a beautiful house with everything money could buy. My father was a successful businessman, my mother the perfect socialite who hosted elegant dinners and smiled for every family photo. From the outside, we looked like the ideal family, but behind those polished doors, love always came with conditions. I was their only daughter. They expected perfection. Straight A's, the right friends, the right college, the right future. When I chose to become a teacher instead of joining the family business, the disappointment in their eyes was clear. Still, I tried. I tried so hard to earn their love. By the time I turned 28, I had built a quiet life I was proud of. I had my own small apartment, my students who adored me, and a circle of friends who felt more like family than my actual family. But deep down, there was always this ache, this quiet hope that one day my parents would see me, really see me, and be proud. That hope shattered on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I had been feeling tired for weeks, bone-deep tired. Then came the sharp pain in my side that wouldn't go away. The doctor's face turned serious after the tests. "Sarah, you have a serious infection. We need to admit you immediately. This could get dangerous very quickly." I remember lying in that cold hospital bed, staring at the white ceiling, feeling scared and alone. My hands were shaking as I dialed my mother's number. "Mom, I'm in the hospital. They say I need treatment right away. Can you and Dad come? I'm really frightened." There was a long silence on the other end. Then her voice came through, calm and distant, like she was discussing the weather. "Sarah, your father and I are in the middle of important meetings this week. We can't just drop everything. But we'll come if things get really bad. We'll come if you die." I think my heart stopped beating for a second. I whispered, "What?" She sighed as if I was being dramatic. "You know how busy we are. If it's serious, really serious, of course we'll be there. Just focus on getting better." And then she hung up. I stared at my phone, tears falling silently onto the hospital blanket. The nurse who walked in saw my face and gently closed the door behind her. I had never felt so small, so unwanted, so completely invisible in my entire life. That was the beginning. In the days that followed, the infection spread faster than the doctors expected. I was moved to intensive care. Machines beeped around me. I was burning with fever, weak and terrified. I called my parents 2 more times. Each time the answer was the same, cold, distant, conditional. "We'll come when it's necessary, Sarah." Necessary. Meaning when I was gone. I cried until I had no tears left. How do you process that your own parents are waiting for your death? That your life meant so little to them that they wouldn't even drive 2 hours to sit beside you? The hospital bills were climbing fast. I had some savings, but not nearly enough for what was happening. I lay there at night wondering if I would leave this world with my parents still treating my life like an inconvenience. But then something happened that I will never forget. One morning, a kind nurse came into my room with the brightest smile I had seen in days. "Sarah, I have good news. Your entire hospital bill has been paid. All of it. The remaining treatment, medication, everything." I blinked, confused. "What? That's impossible. I didn't." She handed me a small note. On it, in neat handwriting, it said, "You don't deserve to fight alone. Get better. The world still needs your light." A stranger, I held that note to my chest and cried like a child. Someone I had never met had seen my pain and chosen kindness. A total stranger cared more about whether I lived or died than my own flesh and blood. That moment changed everything inside me. As I slowly started getting better, the anger began to grow. Not the loud, screaming kind of anger. This was quieter, deeper. It was the kind of anger that wakes you up. I realized I had spent years begging for crumbs of love from people who would only show up at my funeral. I had shrunk myself, apologized for my choices, and carried their disappointment like it was my fault. No more. By the time I was discharged from the hospital, I had made a decision. I was done being the daughter who waited for love that would never come. It was time to take my power back. The first step was the hardest. I wrote my parents a letter, not an angry one, a calm, clear one. I told them exactly how their words had broken me. I told them about the stranger who paid my bill. I told them I was choosing to walk away from their conditional love. I didn't send it right away. I waited until I was stronger. 3 weeks after leaving the hospital, I invited them to what they thought was a normal family dinner at my apartment. They actually came, probably expecting me to apologize or ask for more help. When they sat down, I looked them in the eyes and spoke. "I called you when I was scared I might die. You told me you would only come if I did. A stranger I have never met paid my hospital bill because they cared whether I lived. I want you to sit with that for the rest of your lives." My mother's face went pale. My father tried to speak, but I raised my hand. "I'm not asking for an apology. I don't need one anymore. I'm here to tell you that I am done. I will not chase your love. I will not shrink myself for your approval. From today, I am choosing me." The silence in that room was deafening. My father tried to turn it around. "Sarah, you're being too emotional. We're your parents." I smiled sadly. "Parents don't wait for their child to die. I hope one day you understand what you lost." I asked them to leave, and they did. That night I felt both devastated and free, but I wasn't finished. I decided the world needed to see who they really were, not in a cruel way, but in an honest one. I wrote a post on my private social media, visible only to close friends and family. I shared my story without exaggeration. I told the truth about their words. I posted a picture of the stranger's note. The response was overwhelming. Family members who had always stayed silent reached out. Some were shocked. Others admitted they had seen similar coldness but never spoke up. My parents were exposed, not with shouting, but with quiet truth. The consequences came naturally. Their social circles started asking questions. Invitations to events slowed down. People looked at them differently. The perfect image they had spent decades building cracked. I didn't do it for revenge in the ugly sense. I did it to reclaim my voice, to stop protecting their reputation at the cost of my truth. Months passed. I focused on healing. I went back to my students with a new light in my eyes. I started writing again, something I had given up years ago because my parents called it unrealistic. I even met the stranger who paid my bill. His name was David. He had been in the hospital visiting his own mother when he overheard the nurses talking about my situation. He said my story reminded him of someone he once loved who fought alone, so he paid the bill without hesitation. We became friends. His kindness reminded me daily that good people still exist. My parents tried to reach out a few times, first with anger, then with guilt trips, and finally with awkward attempts at reconciliation. I responded with the same calm boundary every time. "I forgive you, but I will never forget. I choose peace, and that peace does not include you in my daily life." The last time I saw them was at a distant cousin's wedding. They looked older, smaller somehow. My mother tried to hug me. I let her, but I didn't hug back with the old desperation. I was no longer their little girl begging to be loved. I had become a woman who loved herself enough to walk away. Looking back now, I realized the greatest revenge wasn't exposing them or cutting them off. The greatest revenge was how beautifully I began to live. I smile more. I laugh louder. I chase dreams I once buried. I surround myself with people who show up when I'm alive, not when I'm dying. To anyone listening who feels invisible in their own family, I want you to hear this. You are not what they say about you. You are not the conditions they place on their love. And you never, ever have to wait for someone to choose you. Choose yourself first. The right people will find you. Sometimes they even come as strangers who pay your bill and restore your faith in humanity. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear that they are enough. I'm Sarah, and I finally chose me.